It was mid-September when I was assigned to patrol the Hidden Lake sector, a remote area north of the Rockies where visitors often vanished without a trace. I've been a park ranger for 8 years, and though I used to think the stories about creatures in the woods were just campfire myths, that night I learned some things aren't meant to be explained. The weather was unstable. A storm front was moving in, but I had to check an old cabin hikers once used as shelter. As night fell, the fog grew so thick I could barely see my own boots. I reached the lake, my flashlight trembling in my hand. The surface of the water was perfectly still, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. The cabin looked abandoned for years, but the door was open. Inside, it smelled of rot and damp wood. I swept my light across the corners until I noticed something, a recent backpack, a camera, and on the floor, muddy footprints, huge ones, human-shaped but warped. They led out of the cabin and into the forest. I turned off my flashlight to listen. At first, nothing. Then, a crack. Another. Heavy footsteps crunching through the branches. I froze. I turned the light back on and pointed it toward the window and saw it. A massive silhouette, motionless, 20 meters away, red eyes glinting through the mist. I stumbled backward, knocking over the table. The creature roared, a deep, guttural sound that made the cabin walls tremble. I ran into the forest as the storm broke overhead. Thunder and wind masked its pursuit, but I knew it was following. Every time lightning flashed, I caught glimpses of it moving between the trees, fast, impossibly fast. I tried to find the main trail, but the fog disoriented me. I heard branches snapping, breath, loud, close. I sprinted downhill, slipping on wet rocks until the ground gave way and I fell several meters. I crawled between fallen logs, holding my breath. Its footsteps drew near, then stopped right behind me. The silence was unbearable. A bolt of lightning split the sky, lighting everything. Its shadow loomed just beyond the logs, hunched and sniffing the air. I didn't move. I don't know how long I stayed there, but when I finally opened my eyes, dawn had come. The rescue team found me hours later, dehydrated, shaking. The cabin had been destroyed overnight, as if something had crushed it. No clear tracks were found, only deep impressions in the mud near the lake. Sometimes, when I return to that sector, I see the fog forming over the water just like that night, and I always feel that something out there still remembers my scent.
I was assigned to patrol the Canyon of Silence, a remote gorge on the western edge of the Rockies. No one goes there willingly. The terrain is steep, the trails vanish among the rocks, and radio signals die a few kilometers in. But when a group of climbers failed to return, they needed someone with experience. I volunteered. I arrived at dusk. The air was heavy, and the wind whistled through the cracks in the canyon as if the place itself were breathing. The climbers' tacks faded into the frozen sand, but something didn't add up. There were larger, deeper prints beside them, spaced meters apart, as if someone, or something, had been following. By nightfall, I set up a small camp near a boulder. The fire flickered weakly. I was checking my map when I heard a sound behind me, slow, dragging, followed by the clatter of loose stones rolling downhill. I shone my flashlight, and for a split second, I thought I saw a figure move in the shadows, tall, broad-shouldered, its hands covering its face. I shouted, but only the echo answered. I convinced myself it was my mind playing tricks until I saw the footprints again, fresh, the same as before. I kept the fire going. I didn't sleep. The silence in that canyon wasn't normal. It was thick, as if it absorbed sound. Around midnight, something ran past the edge of the camp. A deep growl echoed through the rocks. I grabbed my rifle, aimed, and saw two eyes glowing in the dark. I fired. The gunshot bounced through the canyon walls, but what froze my blood was hearing footsteps, closer, faster. I ran. Up the slope, slipping on gravel, while behind me branches cracked and stones shattered. It was right behind me. I reached a small cave and crawled inside, shaking. Moments later, it arrived. Its shadow filled the entrance. I heard its breathing, slow, heavy, sniffing the air. I didn't move. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then a rock fell from the ceiling. The noise distracted it. Slowly, it walked away. I waited for hours before crawling out. Dawn painted the mountains red. As I descended, I found what was left of the missing group. Shredded tents, torn packs, and massive footprints encircling the site, as if something had paced around before vanishing. I never managed to explain what I saw, but every time the wind whistles through that canyon, I hear the same deep rumble I heard that night, and I know it wasn't the wind.
I've worked as a park ranger in the Rocky Mountains for over 15 years. I'm used to the cold, the sudden storms, and the solitude of the forest, but I'll never forget what I experienced in January of 2021. That winter was brutal. Heavy snowfalls closed several trails, and 3 hikers went missing within a week. I was assigned to inspect the Northern Pass, an area few dare to visit due to its difficult terrain. I left at dawn, under a gray sky and air so cold it stung my skin. I carried my pack, my service rifle, and a radio that barely picked up a signal at that altitude. 2 hours into the hike, I froze. In front of me, a series of massive footprints crossed the fresh snow. They were long, with 5 distinct marks at the front, too big and too deep to belong to a bear. I decided to follow them. Each step led me deeper into the woods, where the silence became unnatural. No birds, no branches cracking in the wind, only the sound of my breathing and the crunch of snow beneath my boots. After some time, I found the remains of an extinguished campfire and something that made my blood run cold. A hat, half buried in snow, stained with dried blood. Then I saw it. Through the falling snow, a massive figure moved slowly between the trees. It walked upright, broad-shouldered, covered in dark fur that blended with the storm. For a second, I thought my eyes were deceiving me. But when it turned toward me, I realized it wasn't an animal. Its face was ape-like, yet there was something disturbingly human in its expression. I stepped back, and the crunch of snow gave me away. The creature let out a deep growl, a sound I felt more in my chest than in my ears. I bolted downhill, not daring to look back. Trees blurred past me as I ran, but I could hear it behind me, heavy, powerful strides closing the distance. I reached a frozen river and dashed across it. Behind me, I heard the ice crack under its weight, a thunderous crash, followed by a roar that faded into the wind. I didn't stop running until I reached the old wooden watch cabin. I slammed the door shut and waited, my heart hammering, listening for any sign of it. But the only thing I heard was silence. The next day, I returned with the rescue team. The ice on the river was shattered, and the footprints ended right at the edge of the water. No one truly believed me, but since then, every time snow falls over the valley, the forest goes silent again. And in that silence, I know it's still out there, watching. For more than a decade, I've worked in Banff National Park, along the northern edge of the Rockies. Winters here are long and brutal, but nothing prepared me for what happened last February. A couple of hikers vanished in Shadow Valley, a remote place that even the most experienced mountaineers avoid in winter. I was sent to search for traces, armed only with my GPS and a reconnaissance drone. The first day seemed normal. Fresh snow, scattered footprints, the sound of wind brushing the slopes. But as I went deeper into the valley, I noticed something disturbing: silence. No birds, no creaking branches, not even the frozen river's murmur. Only the echo of my footsteps bouncing between the mountains. About 5 kilometers in, I found the couple's camp. The tents were crushed from above, as if something massive had fallen on them. There were drag marks, huge footprints leading into the woods. Not bear tracks, human-like, but impossibly large. I launched the drone and sent it over the area. On the screen, barely visible through the fog, I caught movement, something tall, dark, moving slowly between the trees. The image glitched right as I tried to zoom in. I thought it was a signal error, until the drone dropped, as if something had struck it. I followed the direction of the lost signal. The forest thickened, the light dimmed, then a metallic smell stopped me cold. Blood. A few meters ahead, I found frozen scraps of clothing and a shattered camera. As I picked it up, a sound made me turn. Something was moving in the mist. It was enormous, upright, covered in dark, snow-soaked fur. Its arms hung almost to the ground, and its breathing was so deep I could hear it from meters away. It stood there, watching me. I didn't run, I didn't scream, I just raised my flashlight, trembling. The creature tilted its head, as if trying to understand me. Then the valley came alive with echoes. My own breathing multiplied 1,000 times, my heartbeat bouncing off the stone walls, its growl reverberating in every direction. I ran toward the edge of the ravine, but a sharp crack behind me made me freeze. It wasn't pursuit, it was footsteps, many of them. Through the fog, I saw shadows moving among the trees, big, slow, silent. It wasn't a lone creature. There were more. They found my camera 3 days later on the riverbank, coated in frost. The last footage showed only the mist and a dark face inches from the lens before everything turned white.